everybody, and welcome to the Deep Dive Live on Thursdays. I am starting a couple of seconds early here. I wanted to try and see if I could figure this out on my cell phone at the same time I was doing it live on StreamYard so I could see your comments and see who was making them. Because as you've noticed in the past, as we've done these before, I struggle with figuring out who's talking to me. So I am able to see comments, I think, on my phone. If anybody's on right now and um, feels motivated, could you just hit the like button or make a comment just so I can see if it's coming through on my phone? Just, shoot an emoji or something. I know there's a few of you on. I'm just wondering if you could send me some comments. I'm not seeing them over there. Let's see if we can see them over here. All right. Well, I have one comment over there. I guess I would have to just keep refreshing my screen on my phone. Yeah. Ross. Thanks, Ross. I really appreciate this. Indiana and Seema. I really appreciate this. Okay. Indiana. So let me mute my phone. All right. And Rhonda's in. Cool. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad to see you guys again. I have missed you over the last couple of weeks. I know it's only been 2 weeks, but it feels like it has been a month to me. So much has happened. I'm Jill Hart, the host of the U World Order Showcase podcast, and I empower life, health, and transformational coaches to be the change they want to see in the world, but maybe not in the way you expect. Today, I am here to share with you how I manifested $54,000. Man, I can't even say it. $54,000 in 3 weeks. And so far in December, are you sitting down? I actually have manifested $75,000 in liquid assets. When I factor in the other sources, and none of this came in the way that I expected. So let me tell you the story. On the new moon in November, I set an intention to attract 14 new clients and manifest $50,000 in December. And along with these intentions, I did a couple things. 3 main things. I tapped, which is, the tapping. I call it tapping for dollars as opposed to dialing for dollars, the old TV show. Most of you probably are not old enough to remember that, but I remember when I was sick and when we lived in San Diego for a short period of time, we would it came on at 3:00 in the afternoon, and you could only watch it when you were sick. It was actually a movie channel, but they people sent in their phone numbers or something, and they would dial random numbers and give people money. And Janis Joplin made a real famous song about it. So, and I did this tapping for dollars another time in the past when Margaret Lynch, she's pretty famous tapping coach. She had a tapping for, it was just tapping for large amounts of money to randomly happen to you. And I did it for about a week consistently. And then a few weeks later, it wasn't much more than that, $3,500 showed up in my mailbox. It was from a totally unexpected source. I had no idea. I wasn't expecting the money. It just showed up. So I decided that I was going to do tapping in November, or the end of November into December, so that I could clear any blocks that might be stopping the money from materializing. So, and then I wrote down these 20 words. Mostly I just repeat them in my head, and I do it several times a day, but I did try to write them down a couple times a day with a pen and paper. And these 20 words are: I'm very grateful for the abundance in money and health that flows to me effortlessly and consistently every day. And then I make these following affirmations, which are actually true, but I just feel the need to affirm them in my psyche because we forget. I don't know why, but sometimes we just forget things that are true about us. Um, and these affirmations are: I am a millionaire, I am significant, I am enough, and I am making a difference. And I thought about all these things that I'm grateful for. Um, because really counting your blessings is a way to attract more blessing into your life. It really is true, and I think they've proven it scientifically that what you focus on is what you see proof of. So if you're constantly looking for things to be grateful for, more and more things to be grateful for will show up in your life. It's kind of like, and this is a weird analogy, I know, but it's like um, when you buy a car. Like we bought a Jeep Renegade. It's black. It has a sticker on the back. It says, "I'm the black Jeep of the family." I love that sticker. But I never noticed Renegades before. I had no idea that Renegades were even a thing with Jeep. But after I bought my Jeep Renegade, I can't tell you how many people around town have Jeep Renegades, and a lot of them are black. There's also yellow ones because I have a friend who bought a yellow Renegade at the same time. So I'm always seeing yellow Renegades everywhere, and it's not even her. It's just what you're focusing on becomes what you find materializing in your reality. So I also wrote down why I wanted the money, and I visualized what that would look like and what it would feel like. And I have a friend, Carmel Riley, and she did a live with me back in November where she talked about having me visualize what it felt like in my body, including and especially my feet, because my feet were where it would ground down into um, making it happen. And I was just going to trust her. And I did what she said. And an interesting thing happened to me actually through that, in that I started to feel this kind of tingly feeling in my feet when we were doing the exercise, but it has moved up through my whole body. And sometimes when I'm really focusing on what it'll feel like when I manifest whatever I'm manifesting, um, my whole body starts to tingle. It's a really lovely feeling, but it's something that's new, and I've just noticed it. So I'm grateful for that. So, and the other thing that I did was I joined the $1 Million Experiment um, with Joanna Hunter, and it was kind of a lark that I joined it. To be honest, it was $25 for the whole year. It includes access to all of her podcast episodes where she talks about manifesting in abundance. And this woman is an amazing manifester on her own. And she's got a great story, and she's just really down to earth. But I joined for my $25. And then I started telling people about it. And you all have probably seen, my messages in the emails and in the group about, becoming a millionaire next year. Well, I'm sure that some people will think, gosh, that's just not possible. I don't even get it. But when you go through something like Joanna's course, and you start listening to the or doing the exercises that she suggests you do, something shifts in you, and you start to realize that it's not it's not just that about the money. I mean, the money's nice, and the money gives you a certain feeling like of relief, to be honest. But when when you have $1 million, you're able to do more with what you want to accomplish in the world. Like, being a millionaire isn't the be all and end all of stuff. Money comes and money goes. That's just how it is because it's fluid. It's not a static thing. I mean, you can hang on to physical dollars or coins, but those coins intrinsically gain and lose value based on the other energy around them. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not, that a dollar is not worth a it's not worth anything because it's just a piece of paper. And the the value that we attach to it is based on a lot of other factors, not just the the value of the paper or the number on it. It just doesn't mean anything. It's the energy around what it can give you. So I did that, and then I joined her Heal Your Abundance course that was like $44, another like no brainer for me. And I went through that, and because I'm like in for a penny, in for a pound in my mind. So as I was doing all those things, I started looking for evidence that that it was working because I I wanted to make sure that this I'm putting all this energy out there, and I wanted the universe to say, yeah, yeah, it's happening for you. So I have these investment accounts that I look at sometimes, and sometimes I just, they're just there and I forget about them. So I decided to start really looking at it's a Robinhood account is one of them. I started looking at it, and it started growing. It was like the more I looked at it, the more it grew. And yeah, it went up and down because, investing. But for the most part, over the course of the 3 or 4 weeks, it grew $2,500. It is $2,500 larger now than it was in the beginning, and that represents a 30% increase. But then I went and looked in this other account that I have, and I like almost never look at that one. And it had gone up. I looked at it in the beginning of November, and then I looked at it just recently, and it had more than doubled in um, in the base amount of the asset. So it I was getting signals everywhere. Yes, 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 this is working. And of course, me being me, the get her done gal, I was all about, okay, so this is how it's going to work. And I got to work, and I knew all the intricate details of how I was going to make this happen. And I felt like it was working. And I felt like the way that I thought it was going to manifest was totally in alignment with my mission. So I was pretty confident that it would all work out the way I had intended. But it didn't. This is where the woo-woo stuff starts to come in. So on the new moon in November, my father-in-law, who lived with us for like 18 years, this man was a very integral part of my life and the life of my younger 3 children. He lived with them the whole time they were growing up. He did move out 4 years ago, and he lived on his own. He bought a house up about an hour from where we live, and my husband would go and visit him every week, and they would go and have pizza and beer, and my husband would help him with the things that he needed help with. He was he was perfectly fine. He was just going along, doing his things. Um, he had been diagnosed with congestive heart failure about 12 years ago. But even though the doctors kept telling him, you got, 2 months to live, 6 months to live, whatever. He's like, yeah, 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 whatever. And he just didn't believe him. He was very much a person who believed that he had total control over his body and his well-being. He never got sick. The man never got sick. In the whole time he lived with us, I never saw him even catch a cold. So he whatever he was doing was working for him up until December 4th. Do you remember December 4th? Yep. That was the first day of the 4 days to attract clients with podcasts online training challenge. So that night, after I'd done my first live with you guys, my father-in-law called my husband around 7 o'clock to inform him that he'd fallen down 3 times that day and that he had laid on the ground for hours after each fall because he was too weak to get up. And he was really disoriented. Like he couldn't figure out whether it was day or night. He kept asking my husband, what time is it? So needless to say, within 15 minutes, my husband was out the door in the car on the way up to stay with his dad. Both of them had a cold going on. And it was later diagnosed as COVID for my father-in-law. But my husband decided just to stay up there with his dad until he got well enough to be able to continue on his own. So by the next Thursday, the day of the master class, my husband was in the emergency room with my father-in-law, and the physician's assistant on call was demanding that my father-in-law be transported to a real hospital with, actual doctors, which was another hour away. And at the same time, we were experiencing a big winter storm. So there was lots of snow being dumped. And so he had to go by ground transport rather than being life flighted over there. So my husband had called me 5 minutes before I was going live with the masterclass to try to have this life and death conversation with me about, what's going on with his dad. So Friday, when I was supposed to be promoting the podcast Alchemy Academy, I was driving up to collect my husband and then to see my father-in-law in the hospital. That afternoon, the cardiologist came around and told us that there was nothing they could do for him and that he would be going on hospice this weekend. So I'm thinking, great. I'm so naive about hospice at this point. I think he's going to go somewhere and get some real help and recover. And my husband could come home and Medicare was going to cover the cost and it was going to be groovy. Around 5 o'clock on Friday, the hospice nurse calls to set up hospice. We're driving back to my father-in-law's to pick up some stuff through the mountains. And so the service is kind of spotty. The hospice nurse informs us that hospice takes place in our home. So our house is 1,400 square feet with 3 bedrooms. My husband and I have 1 bedroom. My daughter, who's moved back with us for a while, has the other bedroom. And the third is a tiny little room. It needed paint and a floor, and it's my office. Panic sets in, let me tell you. Where are we going to put him? So the hospice nurse arranged to have a bed and other equipment delivered Monday morning, and my father-in-law transported in the afternoon. So Saturday, we traveled back to Pocatello with a printed note for my dad because, did I mention he's also really deaf? So he can't hear anything that's going on around him. And he really didn't understand what was happening to him. When we got there on Saturday, he was in great spirits. He was animated. It was the most conversation we had had with him in probably 5 days. So, my husband and I are really excited. We're thinking, oh, great, he's going to come home. He's going to recover. Life's going to go on and it's going to be groovy. And we're feeling good about the plan. I spend all Sunday painting my office, putting in new flooring, moving all the junk that's in my office upstairs to my bedroom, which was going to be my office until Dad recovered. And it was all going to be good. And Monday rolls around, the equipment's delivered on time. And can I tell you how impressed I am with Simbi? They're the hospice people we have around here. They were amazing. Like every person I spoke with, and I probably spoke to half a dozen people, they did what they said they were going to do when they said they were going to do it. And they were very encouraging and uplifting. I cannot speak highly enough about them. So Monday is December 11th. My 8th grandchild is born in the wee hours of the morning to my father-in-law's first grandson, who was named after him. My son's other son was born on my father-in-law's birthday, his exact birthday, 3 years ago. So I have 2 grandsons from that son, and he was named after my father-in-law and my dad. His name is Jeffrey Robert. We call him Bob. So father-in-law arrives Monday afternoon, and he's in really bad shape. And the hospice nurse shows up right after he arrives. And after 3 hours of training and meds, we're set to care for Dad. My husband stays up to administer morphine until 3 a.m., and then I relieve him. My father-in-law ended up passing Tuesday morning around 7:40. On the morning of December 12th, he left us $54,000 in cash on the exact date that I had intended that the $50,000 would materialize. Remember that masterclass on Thursday? I was going to be doing a replay on Friday and talking to you all about it over the weekend, how to attract clients with podcasts. And the offer would be ending on Monday. And as you can probably imagine by now, all that went out the window with news that Dad was going into hospice. I know this is a really long and strange story, but there are some things that I've taken away from this that I'd really like to share with you. And the first one is, you only have to tell the universe what you want. And you do need to believe that it's possible for it to happen, but you don't have to worry about the how. Carmel was absolutely right about that. It's the universe will just move stuff around to make it happen. And you need to allow it into your life. And I can't tell you how many times we think we're open to getting stuff, but we really put up all these blocks in our mind, like it has to happen in this way, or it has to look like XYZ. But the universe just doesn't work that way. The universe gives us what it thinks we want based on how we communicate what we want to it. Have you ever wondered why it's easier to make your second million than your first? A lot of it's because your mind is set up to recognize that it is possible. You've done it before, you can do it again. But it's not enough to simply want something in general terms. You really need to want things in specific terms and be grateful for the little signs that you come along confirming that positive things are happening for you. I know that it's easier to manifest things when you have a group of committed people around you that are moving in the same direction and supporting you. And it's easy to get discouraged when things show up in ways you're not expecting. Like I could really easily have said, oh, my launch was a flop and my father-in-law's dead and I'm losing my office and oh my God, the world is ending. Instead, it was like, oh my cow, this this thing that I asked the universe for is happening, and happening in spades. I mean, it's really pretty amazing to me, even at this point, that so many pieces kind of just seem like they just came together. But I know what I intended on the new moon. I did it with intention. I I looked at the new moon and said, on this date, I'm going to write these intentions out, and it's definitely going to be the new moon, and I'm definitely going to want these things. And they the universe brought them to me. So, with that in mind, I'd like to leave you with a couple of thoughts. One, pay the $25 and join the $1,000,000 experiment. It's a whole year of coaching plus a book plus a group. And the $25 is for the whole year. I mean, this is just incredibly generous of Joanna. And I'm forming a mastermind for the next year around stepping into your power and manifesting your great commission. Stay tuned for more information around that in the coming week. I'm working with two other really powerful manifestors, Camille Riley and Carrie Dell. And these two women are powerful in their own right. And I think, well, I don't even think, I know that the combination of what all three of us have to bring to a mastermind, and the mastermind is going to only be 12 women. We're only going to take 12. Because we really want to focus in on accomplishing some big things for the year. So this is not for people that are just starting out or don't really have a big mission in mind. It's really for people that are like, yeah, 2024, I'm catching the dragon by the tail and I'm riding that puppy all the way through the year to really manifest something huge that benefits the whole world, not just like making $1,000,000 for yourself. So that's the broad brush picture of what that's about. So I'll leave you guys with this. See you next week. Have a Merry Christmas, Family Appreciation Day, solstice, or however you label this holiday season around your place. I appreciate you all and wish you all the abundance you desire in 2024.